AI Limit is a competent entry in the Souls-like genre. While it doesn't revolutionize the formula, it introduces mechanics like the sync rate and nuclei systems that add a fresh spin to familiar gameplay. Let's explore where AI Limit shines and where it falls short. We'll start with the technical performance. Over the course of my 33 hours of gameplay, I encountered no bugs or crashes. The game ran smoothly with responsive controls and stable frame rates throughout the game. My PC specs will be in the description below if you'd like to compare and contrast with your own system. Next, we'll go over the things I did not like. The game was too easy. The boss fights, with very few exceptions, were not challenging, and I killed most of them in under 3 tries. My other complaint would be some of the level design and enemy placement. There were some frustrating areas where I would be fighting enemies on low ground, and there are ranged enemies way out of reach, just blasting you while you're trying to fight 5 enemies on the ground. Next, we'll go over neutrals, or things that didn't hurt the experience, but I would love to see improved. The soundtrack is immemorable. There are no songs from this game that I can remember or that I really enjoyed, and that's okay. I definitely love a good soundtrack in a game, but none of the music was bad or annoying, so it gets a pass. The story is also nothing special. There were no bad characters, and the writing wasn't terrible, but nothing really stood out to me either. For reference, I played through the game twice, getting the bad ending the first time and the true ending the second. Neither of these endings really improved my outlook on the story in any meaningful way. Now for the good. The combat feels great and controls are responsive, which is always something you want to be on the lookout for in a new entry to a Souls-like game. You have a nice assortment of tools for dealing with different situations, and you have the ability to respec your ability points as much as you'd like after finding a required item, which is great for trying out new builds as much as you want to. One thing about respecing as well is they actually show you where you had your points invested in during the process, so you don't have to write them down or try to remember what they were, which I thought was very nice. I'm also personally a big fan of the graphics and art style in this game. I can't quite put my finger on it, but I just enjoy it, plain and simple. Now we'll talk about the nuclei system, which is used for determining crystal acquisition from killing enemies and crystal loss on death. Now, crystals are what are used for leveling up your character and purchasing items in the shops. I thought this was an interesting decision, and I liked being able to choose my risk-reward ratio. How the nuclei system works is each nuclei has an absorption and retention rate. Absorption is how many crystals you get when you defeat an enemy, and retention is how many you keep on death. You do not lose all of your crystals on death. You instead lose a percentage that are unrecoverable, which was a nice change of pace from other Souls-likes. The sync rate system was another interesting mechanic and is what is used to determine your attack power, ability power, and your stagger as well. The bar is broken up into different portions, with a full bar giving you increased damage, middle of the bar doing normal standard damage, and when the bar gets low, you do less damage. There are items and things you can get to add more sections and give regeneration and overall help you manage this. You build sync rate by landing light and heavy attacks and hitting fatal strikes as well. And you lose sync rate with ability use and getting hit by enemies. This made for an interesting dance in the combat with managing sync rate instead of stamina use, which I found to be very enjoyable. By far, my favorite part of this game were the blader fights. These fights were actually challenging and forced me to sit up in my chair and focus to get through them. They are fast-paced fights against other bladers that were without a doubt the highlight of the game for me. Unfortunately, there are not a lot of them, but I was very excited whenever I ran into one. Overall, AI Limit is a fine addition to the Souls-like genre, has a solid experience with some innovative mechanics, and does the basic things well, which is so important in a game like this. The developers at Sense Games have a solid foundation, and I'm excited to see future games from them and how they will iterate on their mechanics. With some improvements to world building, I think they have the potential to make some amazing games in the future. With all that said, before I give the rating, I would like to explain my system. A 5 from me is the equivalent of an IGN 7 and is earned by the game not being buggy or a technical mess or just a flat out terrible game. An 8 to 10 would be an amazing game that leaves a lasting impression on me and is something I see myself replaying in the future. Examples of that would be games like Nier Automata, Persona 5, Elden Ring, Sekiro. So, with that being said, I will give AI Limit a rating of 6 out of 10. It's a fine game for the price. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope this was an informative review. Please let me know in the comments what I can do to improve reviews in the future, as my goal is to give you, the viewers, good information so that you can make an informed purchase. Thank you.